Welcome to A Woman's Brew, where women talk about beer. In today's episode, we're shaking things up, stirring in a bit of fun, and serving you a round of mixed drinks to conclude our first set of cocktail-inspired beer episodes. I'm Joanne, and this is Tori.
Hello, hello.
And we're two beer-loving women on a mission to get more people drinking and talking about great beer. Come join us. Alright, so we've been doing these lovely cocktail episodes for you, dear listeners. And we've ended up with a few cocktails that we couldn't find others of. So this
but
is
we wanted
kind
to
of,
buy them anyways.
Yeah, and we wanted to try them anyway and see how it goes. This is kind of the odd bins of the cocktails.
Oh, I think. Hold on. Let's go back a second. We're talking cocktails, but let's talk coffee.
Let's talk coffee. Don't forget, we are on coffee. If you'd like to donate a little bit of extra cash that you might have to help us to continue making this excellent content, check out the show notes, check out the bios, the links are all there. If you donate to us for 30 days, you get access to all of our bonus content that's over there. There's our Q1 review. There's some beer tastings we've done. There's some brewery tours. Head on over there and see what you can see. Donate some money and tell us what you want us to make.
Yeah, you can just hit us with a one-off donation. It's not like you don't have to do a subscription.
No.
And then hopefully if you've looked at it before and you had trouble with changing the amount, hopefully you can change. I think we fixed it. Don't know. So if we've not,
message us.
Let us know. I was going to say let us know because there was a problem and I think it's fixed. I don't know, but let us know because you don't even have to do the suggested amount. You could do a smaller amount and then you could just binge listen to whatever or binge watch whatever's on there.
Yep.
And hopefully we will find out a way to do the audio so that it's not just video.
Yeah.
We have to have time to do that.
So instead,
but
let's talk cocktails.
Instead cocktails. So yeah, no, I think there was like every intention to be like, let's find all these different cocktails. But then there was ones that we found that were like, we really want to try this. Let's just grab it and we'll see. And you know what? I don't know about your thoughts on this. My thoughts are, we'll collect as many as we can in groups and then do them in groups. And then when we have odd ones, we'll just do every so often. We can just throw in a random odd one.
Yeah, I think so. We'll just do the odd
We'll round out the last few where we actually had proper sets with a mixed batch today. So yeah, I think the plan will be we will try to get them in batches when we see that there's a trend and they're coming out in batches, or try to get specific cocktails.
There's a few breweries that tend to do cocktail inspired beers. Like one of the ones we'll have today is from New Bristol. They tend to do some cocktail inspired beers. Yonder tend to do cocktail inspired beers. Vault City tend to do cocktail inspired beers, which leads us quite nicely into our first one. We are looking at Strawberry Woo Woo. So which cocktail in a can woo woo have you got? Because we did manage to find one.
Morrison's.
Snap.
Morrison's own. I'm fairly certain that this is the only. I think it's the only place that makes woo woos.
I think so. I've not seen them anywhere else. Although this is a lively mix of vodka with cranberry juice and peach and lime flavour. That's terribly written.
A lovely mix of vodka with cranberry juice and peach and lime flavour. Yeah,
that's terribly written.
That is really odd. Yeah, that is really, really odd. I didn't read it. And if anyone's watching the video and you are from New England, been to New England, or happen to be near one of the places here, the colours on it just remind me of Dunkin' Donuts. So when I see this, every time I just immediately think Dunkin' Donuts. I've got trauma,
they
flashbacks. They really, really do. And it's traumatic, but, is what it is. Couldn't find a single specifically strawberry woo-woo. I can obviously give, the facts on, the woo-woo as a whole, a high level on the facts of the woo-woo as a whole, but I did try to find strawberry. And so Funkin' is a brand that obviously makes pre-mixed cocktails here in the UK. And it's they used to do in those big like carton juice size like carton.
Yeah.
Pre-mixed thing of strawberry woo woo, and they are like literally the only place. And when you Google strawberry woo woo to try to find where to buy cocktails in a can of it, all you get is Funkin', and it's like they're in stock nowhere in shops. So I just had to settle for a normal woo woo.
Yeah. Right, should we crack this open and then you can tell us some woo woo facts?
Woo woo.
It's going to be fun to say, isn't it? This whole time we're saying
it. Is a bit. Not how I expected this to look.
Oh, it looks like a hard seltzer.
It does. I'm already not happy. It's not even really pink though. It's like
blush.
It's Himalayan salt pink.
It is.
It is, isn't it? If you are literally.
I smell it and I think I got bubbles up my nose. Oh my goodness.
Normally that's me that does that.
God.
Actually, I think you're fine. But yeah,
no, something coming out of the aromas just make him me cough.
It's that like it's almost like there's like soda water in it or something like that. There's like the carbonation that's like it's not like sulfuric, but it is sulfuric. So before we drink, basically, this was invented in the US at some point in the 80s. So the story says that it sort of originates in a bar in New York, but again, it's not really clear. So yeah, it seems like it's quite a more modern cocktail. So there's no real interesting or notable backstory that I could find compared to some of these like much older cocktails. So like I kind of wonder if like in 100 years time or something, if there's going to be all these like origin stories about woo-woos. But what's really funny is I feel like I never really came across them until I came to the UK. Like I feel like I never I'm sure they existed in the US, obviously, because it originates in the US. But I feel like I never really saw how popular they were until I like moved here, and then people would be like nights out, and they'd be like, it's 2-for-1 cocktails, like pitcher of cocktails, and all you could get is a woo woo. Yeah,
it definitely feels like something that I would have bought in a large quantity when I was at uni.
Oh yeah, there's something in this that makes you want it.
Isn't there?
It's like peppery. So the ingredients of an actual woo-woo is exactly what's in this, which is vodka, peach schnapps, and cranberry juice. So some recipes like suggest garnishing it with a lime, while others kind of use lime juice. This one was lime flavour, so probably maybe lime cordial, maybe, or something. So yeah, and then they typically serve it in a lowball glass. And what I found interesting, because I was like, what's a lowball glass? Obviously it's the opposite of a highball glass. It's also called, so it's basically an old-fashioned glass, but it's also called a rock glass, which I'd never heard of it called a rock glass before.
I've heard that.
So I thought that was interesting. I'd never heard that word before.
I suppose because it's wide, so you can get quite a lot of ice in it.
I don't know. I wonder if part of it is like, I mean, you do get like with whiskey and stuff, which is obviously what you have in an old fashioned. Like you can get whiskey stones. So is that anything to do with it? Is that why they'd maybe name it that? I don't know. Thought it was interesting, but I tend to think that they just serve it in pitchers. Because that's how I like, with a straw in it, and you're supposed to share. You're supposed to share it, but nobody shares it.
Yeah,
and then so the variation, which is what we have with Full City, is the strawberry woo woo, and that is basically the exact same recipe, but there's strawberries in it as well, in addition to everything else that's in it, and it tends to it's almost exclusively puree that goes into it. So, that's kind of the difference between a woo woo and a strawberry woo woo. So this is a standard woo woo sans strawberry puree because we couldn't find that shiz anywhere.
Nope. And I think the Vault City strawberry woo woo is just strawberry.
Yes, I don't think it's got any of the other bits in it. It's not got
cranberry or lime or peach or any of that.
No, but we'll be interested to see how it stacks up. 9%. This is quite a weeknight for us tonight because we're starting on a 9%er.
I've got a day off tomorrow, so it's all right.
I wonder if this is the lime in it, like whatever kind of lime they used.
Do you know what? I quite like this.
It tastes like dry ice.
There is something weird in it. I don't mind it. But also, my drink when, like pre-beer drinking days, my drink was a Archers and Coke.
Oh, that I can never get over those combinations, like Malibu and Coke. I don't know, it just makes me feel weird.
It's normally Archers and lemonade, but I was an Archers and Coke. Like, it's amazing I've got any enamel left on my teeth.
I think to me, this tastes nice if you were to just capture the flavours, because I love peach. I'm a big peach fan, so big proponent of that. But I think whatever's there that's causing me to want to you. Weird. It's not just one of us, it's definitely both of us. Whatever's there that we're inhaling as we go to take a sip is really kind of like ruining the taste for me, because it's making me be like what is going on?
Yeah.
Flavour wise though,
it's not flavour wise. It's nice.
Can't really fuck up peach and vodka.
It's not cranberry. Can you know? This isn't high end. This isn't like that nice nitro pina colada one I had from Funkin'. Like, this is just Mozza's own.
I said Mozza's to Rick, and he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Mozza's," and he was like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Mozza's," and he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Morrison's," and he was like, "How was I meant to know that's what?" He's like, "I thought you were saying something completely different."
That's what people call it.
He goes, "I've never heard it called that." I was like, "You all fun? How have you not?"
Fun story. So we call McDonald's is Mackey's.
Which is always. I've never heard Macca's. I've heard
Macca's. We used to say Macca's. So when we were teenagers, we were like, "Yeah, we're gonna go down Macca's." Had a friend who one day was just like, "Oh, we're gonna go," like, guy, and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna go we're gonna go shopping. We're gonna go to Macca's," and I was like, "Going shopping? Why would we go? Like, if we're just going shopping, why would we go to?" And he's like, "Macca's is a clothes shop." I'm like, "Macca's is McDonald's. What do you think we've been saying all this time?" And for ages, he did not know that's what we were talking about. I'm like, dude,
genuinely, like 100% wouldn't have ever called that. But also because I'm from the US, we call it Mickey D's. Like, we don't call it.
Yeah, we don't call it that.
We don't call it
Mackey's or Macca's.
So it took me a while to get used to people saying Macca's, because I was like, or like not that, but like, yeah, that was a weird adjustment. But yeah, Mozza's. So yeah, it is. Like, I keep wanting to go back for another sip, and then I'm like,
because the flavours are nice, but it's weird. Let's crack open this strawberry woo-woo, so you got something else to sip on.
Yeah, please, let's do it. I'm scared it's going to explode on me, but it's not. It's okay. I'm going to use my Vault City glass.
I think I had this when they put it out in bottles.
Oh, I love that. I'm hearing that lovely brewery ASMR from your side. Lovely pouring ASMR.
It's got a lovely head on it.
It smells like jam. Like strawberry jam.
It properly does smell like jam. It's like,
does it say?
An orangey strawberry juice colour.
Yeah. I'm just trying to see if it says how many, because I think when I read when I read online the description, it said how much strawberry was used.
She is tart. I don't know if it's just because I've had the really sweet one before it.
Yeah, it's definitely tart, but it's interesting tart. It's really hard to explain because it's very jammy. So I think the tartness almost kind of, if you had a little bit more acidity to that tartness versus the sweetness to the tartness, I think it would make you like involuntarily pucker a lot more. But I think because there is that like jammy strawberry, like I'm almost looking for the little, like, you know, those little like seeds, like when you have strawberry jam. It's like I'm almost waiting for those little seeds to be in your mouth, like from fresh made strawberry jam. But I think the sweetness balances out that tartness in a way that it's tart, very clearly tart, but not recoiling, making your mouth involuntarily pucker.
I'd like a little bit more sweetness. Just a touch.
I'm almost getting like, again, it's weird, and I've been having this recently, so I'm wondering if it's just my taste buds like changing or evolving or whatever. But like recently with some of these fruity, like really full, like thick sours, I almost get some like smokiness with some of these red fruits, like these red fruited sours, and I don't know why. And I think it's just something that's like changed with me and how I'm tasting things. But like, there's almost off the back end of this, just almost like this little tiny bit of almost, maybe not smoky, maybe like, I don't know how to describe it because like smoky isn't the right word, but it's the first word that pops into my brain, and it's not really like. Tobacco is almost like the second word that pops up, but I don't know if that's just because normally when I have smoky beers.
Is it more woody?
Maybe. Let me... so, is it woody? I don't know. It's like the word I wanted to use is on the tip of my tongue. And I can think of all these things that are similar, but I'm just kind of like, no, that's not right. No, that's not right. And it's not specifically even just with this Vault City. It's like, I've just been experiencing this recently with big, thick sours. But usually when it's like not a dark fruit or anything like that, it's normally when it's like a red fruit or weirder fruit combinations. Like I had it as well when I had something, like one of their other fruited ones that was... like an interesting combination of different fruits.
I wonder if it's something coming from the grain bill, like from oats or wheat or something, maybe.
I wouldn't be shocked now that you've said that, because actually, when you said grain bill, I was kind of thinking, and I'm kind of like, there is some level, those undertones that I'm getting, like towards the back end as well, and like kind of what's like lingering a little bit, is a similar, this is going to sound probably really weird, but is a similar taste to like what I can identify when I've had certain mash, like when I've had like wort, like when we've had some of the wort, I've been like, some of those grainy notes are kind of a little bit what I'm identifying now that you've said that. And that's really interesting because I'd never put those together. So yeah, I think it would be really interesting to see like what they used. But yeah, it's nice. It's jammy. I like the jamminess.
It's definitely jammy. Lots of strawberry.
Before we kind of get into discussing if we think this would scratch the itch for a woo woo, or if you'd recommend it to your woo woo friends, do you want some fun facts? I've given like a few fun facts for them.
I always want fun facts.
Right. So the name, the big rumor that I saw was that the name supposedly came from a bartender who typically shouts woo woo when serving the cocktail. And I was like, who has observed this? This is like, there's no real origin story here. Like, what is happening? So I started digging in more into like the name, and I found like two more really funny, slightly funny, interesting origins for where the name woo woo came from. So the first one being, there's one story that led back to a New York bartender, and he would shout woo woo every time the Mets would score, his favorite baseball team.
Right.
So yeah, every time they'd score, he would shout woo woo, and then he'd give them all a round of cocktails, everyone in the bar.
Oh. And
I'm guessing this is the cocktail that he served. So that's one. Another story is that it suggests that it was named after Captain Jimmy Woo Woo Harker. Supposedly, he was a well-known captain based on the coast of Carolina, and then his go-to drink was peach schnapps and cranberry juice.
Oh.
So it's like, first of all, how many non-naval captains or like military captains or whatever can you even name? It just sounded like this was just a regular dude. Maybe he's famous. I don't know. I didn't Google him because I really didn't want to ruin the illusion that there's just this like famous captain called Jimmy Woo Woo Harker. So yeah, that's another origin story for it. So that was interesting. Supposedly as well, the Woo Woo was the first cocktail to contain peach schnapps. So that kind of checks out because I Googled, like, I kind of saw something else for like the origin of when it was invented, and then I was like, well, the 80s seems to be the most common. Let me find out when peach schnapps was invented. So I googled that, and that was in 1984. So that does check out more or less with when this was invented. So that was interesting. And then my last fun fact is that you don't often see cocktails as shots, do you? Or shooters, as they would call them in the US, I guess.
Yeah, no.
You don't see too many that are like that. But a woo-woo is also a shot that you can order. So it's basically, again, it's just equal parts vodka, peach schnapps, and cranberry juice in a shot glass. So I thought that was interesting because it's not so fun, but I thought it was a bit interesting because there's not too many of these. Like, you don't get like pina colada shots.
Yeah, no, shots tend to be separate from cocktails, don't they?
Because they tend to be a little bit more simple.
Yeah.
Smaller measurements.
Yeah, smaller space.
Yeah, so it tends to be like
a cake shot once.
I had one shot. Oh god, I feel like I don't even want to remember this, but yeah, for Christmas party at work. Oh, that poor bartender. I'm surprised I didn't get banned from that hotel that I stayed at. It's basically, we just kept ordering shots, and I was like buying him shots, and he was like, I don't think he was supposed to have them, but I was like, I feel bad because you're staying open late, but whatever, it's fine. But he made something called a jammy dodger.
Oh.
And I don't even remember what he put in it, but I remember there was like Chambord, and it tasted like a jammy dodger. I want to say it was like Chambord and like Bailey's or something like that. Something like creamy. Yeah. And it was really interesting, really good. And then I used to love, there was a place that I went to when I lived obviously in Boston, still before I moved over here, and they would do shots that were like mint chocolate shots. Those were really, really good. It was mostly mint, and then you'd have like a little tiny like bit of chocolate in it. That was also, that's, if I was going to do a shot, that's like my idea of a really great shot. But I feel like that's your idea of hell.
Yeah, no thanks.
What would be in a birthday cake shot?
I can't remember. It was years ago. I think it had something creamy in it.
I'm into it.
I think it had sprinkles in it as well.
I mean, I'm definitely into that.
Like, it was like like American birthday cake. Like, yeah.
That's what I want. When I have birthday cake, nothing makes me more sad than when I have birthday cake. And it's British birthday cake. Like, that makes me so sad. Like, Ben and Jerry's, I bought their birthday cake ice cream because I was like, birthday cake, yeah. And there's sprinkles, yay. But actually, it's British birthday cake. I was like, meh. It's fine, it's good.
What do you consider, so, like, jam sandwich, birthday cake? Is that what you're thinking? That's what you're saying is British birthday cake?
Yeah, that's what I say is British birthday cake. Because every time you see birthday cake, it's always like jam sandwich. I'm like, oh, I don't want that. Strawberry jam, strawberry, and like, buttercream. No offense, British people. This is why people hate me. I feel like less than moist cake.
How rude.
British. I feel like on the whole, there's more. Maybe it's because there's more sugar and it's less healthy. American cake just tends to be so much more. Maybe it's more rich as well. Cake over here just makes me a bit sad. Not all of it. There's some really good cake. But birthday cake. Wow. I get a birthday cake and I go, no.
Wow.
I've said what I said.
This is going to be the short. I'm gonna put this in the thing, and I need people to hear your disdain for British cake.
I don't hate all British cake. It's just like there's nothing that makes it more depressing.
Wow, Tori.
Than when I go birthday cake, yeah, and I'm thinking funfetti, and they're like, don't worry, there's sprinkles, and I was like, yeah, there's definitely funfetti. Woo woo. I'm woo woo, and I'm having a woo woo, and then I try it, and I go, oh, it's like a Victoria sponge.
Wow.
I don't love Victoria. Despite my name, I don't love a Victoria sponge because I like more light, fluffy, moist cakes. I said what I said.
Sure did. I just have no words.
Speechless. I'm sure I'll get lots of hate, and don't worry, Rick hates it. Rick hates American cake as well. He's like, there's too much sugar. He will actively bake things and take sugar out. It's I'm like, you can't do that. And he's like, well, I've done it, so
what are you going to do?
But yeah, he just basically says he hates my American cakes because all they are sugar. So, yeah. So woo woo. Back to we're not about cakes right now. The strawberry woo woo. Would you recommend this to somebody? Like, what are your thoughts on it?
I think it's very fruity. I suppose if you like the strawberry woo woo, I think if you're expecting the sweetness that comes from the peach and the cranberry, this is not that. But if you want something fruity, then yes, I think you could get away with it.
I think for me, I don't even know. I think it's good. So, like, would I recommend it to somebody to drink? Like, yes, if you like sours, especially like Vault City sours. If you're a Vault City sour fan and you like strawberries, like, absolutely. But I think if we're putting it in the context of trying to get somebody that doesn't drink beer based on the cocktails they like, I think there's a potential for that person to be disappointed by it, not because it's not a good beer, but because, or not because I'm not enjoying it or anything like that, but because I think knowing what a woo-woo is and then knowing that a strawberry woo-woo is just a woo-woo plus strawberries, I think it is missing those other
it's missing those other
flavours, and it's all, I mean, if you love jammy strawberry, it's great, and I mean,
it's no Strawberry Skies. If we want to go, you know, if you want to go to the back catalogue of Vault City stuff, it's no Strawberry Skies, but it is very good.
I would say it doesn't taste 9%.
No.
I would not have guessed that's 9%.
100% dangerous.
Here's another question though. Would you recommend it for somebody that wants to try sours or enjoys sours?
If they enjoy sours, yes. If they are willing to try sour beer, yes. If they are starting out in sours, I'd probably go for something else from Vault City before I'd give them this first.
I actually don't think that this is as tart as they can get. I don't think
it's not as tart as they can get, but it's not sweet.
I don't think it's as... Yeah, I don't think it's as like when you go and you get their session sours.
Yeah.
I think their session sours are...
I think if you're just starting out and you're not sure about sours, I think this is a little bit too acidic for, you know, it's not baby's first sour.
Yeah.
But if you are, you know, a couple of steps on the old sour journey, this would be right.
I think the problem is now my taste buds are fucked for like what is really tart and like what's not, because to me I'm like, I feel like this could be entry level, like like you said, if somebody's interested in trying sours, but then I think that's maybe my sour bias showing. Because I like sour, I drink so many sours that I'm like, this is easy peasy, isn't it? And then you give it to someone, they're like, oh my god, it's so tart.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a woo woo. Anything else to say about the woo woo? The straw woo woo?
I like it. I think I like the flavours. I think I like the flavours from a classic woo woo more than a strawberry woo woo.
Yeah, I think I like strawberries a lot. It's one of my favourite fruits, but my favourite fruit in life has always been, like, even since I was a kid, is peach. And I do like a good bit of cranberry juice, so it's kind of like, I could see if you had all the flavours together, that would probably be... I kind of want to try mixing it a little bit, if I'm honest. But I also kind of don't want to dilute this. I'm going to mix it in a little cup. Hang on.
I'm going to do it.
A bit. No, I'm not. I'm going to have to get another cup, which is a bit annoying, but... This is fun. We do science on here. Don't you like science? I feel like Joanne hates science.
Why do I hate science? I brew, for goodness sake.
I really like them mixed, actually.
Yeah.
They're quite nice mixed. Because you do get the strawberry, but you still really get a heavily, like, peach, cranberry. I feel like the cranberry adds another level of, like, tartness, but in a different way.
I've not got my ratios right.
I've just done 50-50.
But, yes, all right.
An eyeballed 50-50. Yeah, I'm a fan of that. I like that. Well, there we go.
There we go.
Woo woo. Are you feeling woo woo?
Next. What have we got next?
We have New Bristol Brewery, their collaboration with Phantom, which was their Old Fashioned Stout, which was a bourbon and bitter orange peel stout. Alcohol volume 7%.
Really like the label on this. Like,
I really like all their labels.
Yeah, all their labels are amazing. This one in particular, it screams old fashioned to me. So it's the gorilla in the spacesuit that's on all of their labels, but he is sat on a red leather studded sofa with a red leather studded wall behind it, and then there are cheetahs
on both sides.
On both sides of him. It's like I'm at a weird cocktail bar.
It is a bit,
waiting for my old fashioned to be brought to me. It's great. I love it.
It is I feel like I really like all their labels.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is very specifically.
Yeah, it's great. Now I don't have the makings of an old fashioned, and at one point I was like, have I even tasted an old fashioned? And then I went and looked up the ingredients, and I have. I think actually I made one with a kit that came from Hobgoblin.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think it was actually made when they used to make their ginger beer. I think it was made with their ginger beer, whiskey and bitters, and a squeeze of orange, I think. But I haven't got the makings of that. So instead, while I was buying canned cocktails, I got Jack Daniel's Tennessee Honey with lemonade.
So I did have that, and then I kind of was like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to fucking do it. So I went to the shop trying to find either, like, I did actually just try to find it, like, in the sense of, I knew I wasn't going to get a cocktail in the can.
Yeah,
but I thought, well, okay, well, I'll just find, I'll find, like, maybe a whole bottle of pre-mixed stuff. But, like, the only one I could find online was 22 quid, and I was like, I'm not paying 22 quid.
No.
For probably, like, Tesco's, like, cheapest. I was like, nah, I can't be doing that. So I just decided I'd go and I'd try to find something, and then I just got the bitters that you need. And I just was like, whatever, I'll just get the bitters. And I made it, and I've even got, which I'll talk about in a minute, the whiskey ball.
So we were talking about before we recorded how, and I assumed this of your house, that you would have various whiskies to make this with, because I know your dad's a big whiskey drinker.
Yeah.
So I was just
and
like,
they were only here a few months ago.
The makings of that. They weren't there that long ago. She'll definitely have the makings for that. Please tell the story.
I don't have any of the makings for that. So like, I thought the hardest battle was going to be like, I really didn't want to get the, what do they call, like, agnosta bitters or whatever it's called. And I genuinely was like, I really don't want to buy bitters because I don't drink old fashions that much. So like, what else can I get? That's what my brain was focused on, was the bitters. Other than that, it's very simple because it's like potentially water, depending how you make it, sugar, whiskey. And I was like, definitely got to have whiskey, not a problem. And I'm fairly certain we brought a massive bottle of whiskey back from Japan. So I was like, at a minimum, I've got that. And then my dad was here and he drank a lot of bourbon, so I was like, there's got to be bourbon like somewhere around. Didn't really think about it, and I got home and I was like, oh, Rick, I bought the bitters in the end. And he's like, oh, I do quite like an old fashioned, so that's good. He's like, the reason I don't make them is just because we like never have like whiskey in the house. And I was like, we do? And he's like, no, I don't think we do. I remembered I bought him a kit. I remember I bought him a kit of whiskies, Japanese whiskies, but they're like tiny little bottles with wax seals, and they have tasting notes and everything. And I was like, I shouldn't drink this, should I? And he's like, yeah, maybe not. So I went for the only thing that I had, and that was Jack Daniel's Apple. Which I was just excited to drink on its own, and I'm really sad because I'm like, now I'm having it, and I'm not even 100% confident it's going to taste good in this combination. And I don't even know what it tastes like on its own. So
here we go. This is what we do for you, listeners. Like, I've got to say, I enjoy a bit of Tennessee honey.
It smells great.
I'm not generally a whiskey drinker, but I do like Tennessee honey, and I would drink that just on the rocks. So I don't know how it's going to be with lemonade, so let me crack this open. You drink yours and see how it goes.
I mean, it smells really good. That's what I was saying. And I'm getting like this fresh orange. I literally put whole orange, sliced it, all that. Spicy. It is spicy. So back to what you were saying though about like having you thought you had a kit to make it.
Yes.
I've definitely made it as well because obviously I had like literally I've told the story before. I never really liked barley wines. I was always sort of like nah. And then I had Sirens refashioned, and that was so different to what I had in my head of what I knew that I had tried as barley wines before. And basically they had done refashioned, which is supposed to be like the barley wine kind of version of old fashioned, and they did a tasting kit like over when we were in lockdown. At one of the times we were in lockdown, maybe it was the first or second time, and they did a kit where it was like 2 bottles of refashioned. It was enough for 2 people, so you could have a date night, and it was 2 bottles of refashioned and 2 cocktail sets to make an old fashioned. I think that's like the only time I really ever drank an old fashioned, but that was so much easier because it was like a pre-made like spice mix that you literally just mixed with like, I think they literally gave us, I do think they actually gave us Jack Daniels or something like that you would sort of mix together. So yeah, this was different because I actually had to do the whole like muddle a cube of sugar with some bitters. My recipe didn't have any water in it, so it is very whiskey.
Yeah, but you got the big old whiskey ball ice cube.
Well, I'm gonna save that fun fact for you for later, but that's potentially a fun fact that I'm gonna hold off on telling you. You know what? I'm gonna tell you that fun fact now. So basically, there's a logic behind why. If you're watching the video, I've got this contraption that makes the ball. If you can see it, I've literally got a big ball of ice. Anyone that enjoys whiskey, bourbon, whatever, scotch, all those things, when you just have that sort of straight and you have it, straight on the rocks, like you're supposed to, there's logic behind why you don't just use like ice cubes. You use a big circle if possible, because effectively the oversized ice cube, there's a larger surface area, so it takes longer to melt. So that means the whiskey becomes less diluted, or it's slower to dilute with the water. So yeah, that is it. It's not like that's me having this is necessarily going to help me not adding the water into it. But yeah, are you a big whiskey drinker?
Not at all. Like being a beer drinker, being a I like country music. Usually those things apparently equate to you drinking lots of whiskey. I'm not a massive whiskey fan. As I say, if I were going to have whiskey, it would be the Tennessee honey. This can is making me sad because I think the lemonade really detracts from the flavour of the Tennessee honey. So I'm sad about that.
That is sad. Like if you're expecting like really nice, like you're like, oh honey, that's great. Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah, it's making me sad. But no, I'm not a whiskey drinker.
Yeah, my grandmother was a big whiskey drinker, and I'm just not. I'm not. So I can sip it. I'm a great whiskey sipper, but I had a smoked one once. Like when my mum, I think my mum talked about it on the episode that she was she ordered one, and it was like that might have been when my mum just got, I think, whiskey like neat. Yeah, and Rick got an old fashioned, but he got a smoked one. Ooh. And I tried a bit of that, and I was just like, these are all the things that I don't like about any of this. It wasn't bad. It was really, the thing is it was like really well made. But like, I like a smoked beer, but I like specific smoked beer. Like, I don't just like things with heavy smokiness, but I like a smoked beer. But like anything else that's like heavily smoked, I tend to be like, yeah, not for me. And then like the whiskey, I was just like, all of this, it's just all no. Not me at all. Brilliant. But yes. All right, let's crack this beer. I didn't even give you this. So it's basically the high level while we pour this. The high level of an old fashioned is that it is said to have been created in 1889 at the Pendennis Club in Louisville, Kentucky, and that is a gentleman's club. Not in the way that maybe people in this country think of gentleman's club, where it's like that, like an actual Southern gentleman's club. And it was supposedly created by a bartender and prominent bourbon distiller, Colonel James E. Pepper. What a name. Great name. James E. Pepper. Before bringing it to the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York City. The ingredients are sugar. Now that can either be like granulated in a cube or sugar syrups. Like some people prefer using it in the syrup form because it's just easier to mix. If you're doing it true to, you would muddle that sugar with bitters. So you get your bitters in there. A lot of recipes are water and whiskey. The one I used, it was like optional, and I was like, I'm not opening a whole. It's usually like soda water is what was like on a lot of the recipes, and I was like, I'm not opening a whole thing of soda water to use like a tiny smidge. So I went straight whiskey. And then, usually it's an orange slice for garnish. So, and you do that because, like, you have to be really careful about what you garnish with. If you use, like it said, maraschino cherries, for example, absolute no-no, because that's too sweet and that throws off the balance. Whereas orange really brings out some of those, like, aromas. There's that, and it's obviously served in an old-fashioned glass. So, that's what you got.
This beer was a beautiful pour. Like it's a lovely colour. It's like a beautiful nice. Dark brown. It's got a bit of a red highlight. Mine's got a thick beige head on it.
It's quite thick, yeah. Thick with 2 C's, I would say.
Yeah.
Look at that.
It's got a real roasty.
I was going to say, aroma. Roasty is definitely one I get.
But not like roasty, but not like in a coffee way, really.
No, I'd say there's almost for me maybe a little bit of like a slight bit of tobacco-y nature to it.
And when I first opened it, I got like a spritz of sweet orange, but that seems to have gone now.
So I was just gonna say, actually, what I'm getting, like after a few sniffs of it, for lack of a better way to describe it, I am getting more orange that's coming to it, but kind of in the way that I don't like, where it lands in like a chocolate orange way.
Yeah.
But that's a me problem. Like I think a lot of people would like it. But I think it's kind of mixing with that, what we're saying is roasty but not in a coffee way. It's kind of mixing with that and almost creating a little bit of chocolate orange effect for me.
Well, when I do a swirl and cover, I get more of that orange.
I do get some chocolate in there, and I think that's why I'm getting like chocolate orange vibes, and I'm like, oh no. Immediately no.
Alright, I'm trying it.
Fine. Alright, let's go. Cheers. I quite like it.
I quite like it.
Quite a bitter coffee to it.
I kind of want it to get... I think it's too cold. I want it a bit warmer.
Mine's fairly warm. In a good way. Like, not overly warm, but mine's the right... I think mine is the right temperature.
Mine could do with being a bit warmer.
I'm getting... For me, I'm definitely getting like roasty coffee, cacao, like almost the cacao nib in the sense of how you have it quite, like the chocolate note in a cacao nib can be a little bit more bitter and like dry. Yeah. Like I don't know if that's really the right word, but that's how I associate it.
Yeah.
So it's that type of chocolatey coffee roasty. And I think maybe there's that slight bit of like orange peel, which also makes it land a little bit more in that like coffee way, because of how when you have actual proper like coffee, you get that like bitterness, you get like the chocolatey notes, you get some light like fruitiness.
So. Yeah, it's nice. It's very well balanced.
I would agree. I don't know if I get the bourbon. Like I don't know if there's like an element, like I don't really get the whiskey, but I don't dislike that because I'm not a massive whiskey person.
Yeah.
If it's there, it's landing to me in a way. Like you might have someone that really likes whiskey that's picking out what they like about whiskey there, whereas like what I'm getting maybe is not so much the whiskey because I'm picking up on the other things that I really like. 7% doesn't really taste 7%.
No. Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah, I am quite a fan. I like that more than I like an actual old fashioned. Maybe I've just made mine wrong, or I've used friggin' apple.
But I don't know if a person who likes an old fashioned would like this.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to say actually, because the more I'm sipping on it, I'm getting more smokiness and a little bit like dry bitterness towards the back end of this than I did on the first few sips. And there is a little element of that like boozy. It's not booziness as in like alcohol burn or like harshness, but I am getting more of that like, it's not even an alcohol warmth. Like I wouldn't even call it a warmth. But it's definitely more noticeable booziness to it, but not in a, like it doesn't taste high ABV. It's just kind of like lingering there where I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I could get that. But old fashioned, I don't know.
I think it's too stouty to be old fashioned-y.
What style do you think? I've got fun facts to give you, but this is more interesting. What style do you think could make a really interesting old fashioned? Because I think you're right. Like stout might be really hard because of some of the flavors that kind of come with that compared to like the more citrusy notes.
I think a stout is bringing the right sorts of flavors. I think it's more a mouthfeel thing. But I think it's too full to be, for my brain to equate it with, like it's too full, it's too smooth for my brain to equate it with like whiskey and a cocktail. If that makes sense. Or maybe it's just because I'm like a proper stout drinker. I'm like, no, this is stout. This is not a cocktail. What are you talking about?
I will say, like the first few sips, I was kind of like, yeah, I don't see that similarity per se. Not that I don't see similarity. I can see the components that are there, but it wasn't landing in the same way the actual old fashioned was. And again, I didn't probably make it as authentic as I could have and should have. But the more I'm drinking this, the more I'm like, actually, hang on. I'm actually having to stop and think, yeah, could somebody that likes old fashions like this?
Maybe.
Let me give you some fun facts. We'll let this warm up a little bit for you, and then you can try it again and see. So, some fun facts is this effectively. So, like, this was like it's a whiskey cocktail. It is, the way it's made is pretty much a technical definition of a cocktail. So, a cocktail, apparently, by the technical definition, is being comprised of a spirit, a sugar, a water, and bitters. So, obviously, old fashioned started life being a whiskey cocktail, and pretty like on point because those are the only ingredients. No, to put it in beer terms, there's no other real adjuncts there. It's pretty pure. So the reason that the name came about, so says legend, is that people were heading to the bars requesting their drink to be created in the old fashioned way, meaning like just made with simple whiskey. Because so that definition of like a cocktail, people would experiment with different ways to do it. Like they'd use maybe gin, maybe they'd use like whiskey, maybe they'd use something else. But what my understanding is that whiskey was kind of like the most common and like the oldest one that was being used. So people would be like, I just want it made in the old fashioned way. So that is where the name came from. It is the official cocktail of Louisville. So obviously that's supposedly the birthplace, so it is the official cocktail. Yeah, also this is not really a fun fact, but it was a funny fact to me, and that is that as I was looking for fun facts and scouring the interwebs, I found that there was a website that's basically like Wikipedia for children, and it's called Kiddle. And it like literally looks like a Wikipedia. It's like a knowledge base for children. And there was literally an article on there called "Old Fashioned Facts for Kids." And I don't know why. I don't know. I've given you
whiskey cocktails.
I've given you a link for it because it just makes me laugh. But yeah, there wasn't really anything more to that fact. It was just funny that page existed. The fact that it's like, you think about with, like, especially in beer, how often it's like, the Portman group are like, how dare you put something that's vaguely even cartoon like, and then like Kiddle's like, hold my beer, hold my whiskey,
hold my old fashioned,
hold my old fashioned, I'm going in, hold my whiskey, I'm going in, and yeah, it makes me laugh because it was like the whole history of old fashioned. There was like various recipes.
Wow.
That's and it's yeah, I don't know, it just made me chuckle. So
can we just go back? So Louisville's in Kentucky.
Yep.
And then, in case people don't know,
I said that at the start.
Did you?
Yeah. So at the start, I said drink created in 1889 in the Penn Dennis Club in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah. I missed that. But also Louisville, Kentucky bourbon. So.
Yes. Yeah. They are quite.
So there we
I
go.
guess that's quite key to say. Yeah. They are big bourbon people. They've got the Kentucky Derby. My dad's gone to the Kentucky Derby before.
Okay.
That's a big thing. I think like the Kentucky Derby is very like whiskey and mint juleps.
Oh, really?
I feel like when you have Kentucky Derby, there's always like mint juleps.
Okay.
I don't know. But yeah. I've never been myself. Have you? I mean, you've travelled to various places. Have you ever gone to Kentucky?
I've never been to Kentucky, no. Been to Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Me too. I was just going to say, love the chicken.
Love the chicken, never been
It's great.
There. Yeah.
I kind of wonder, like, is Kentucky Fried Chicken, like, do you think KFC actually originated in Kentucky? Or do you think that someone was just like, they have good chicken in Kentucky, let's just call it that?
I feel like it's got to have originated there, no?
I don't know. Are we
turning into a food podcast now? I don't think we're good enough to be a food podcast.
I could be a food podcast. I would love to do research on food. But yeah.
Let us know, listeners, if you know the origins of Kentucky Fried Chicken and the Colonel's secret recipe.
I could Google it, but I feel like that ruins the mystery.
Yeah.
Part of me wants to believe that someone just went, they got good chicken there. Let's brand it that.
Well.
Has your feeling changed on this now? Like, has it warmed up? Has it tasted different to you?
I still feel it's a bit too stouty, but as I'm not a whiskey drinker, I don't think I'm an authority on the subject.
That's true, yeah. I guess that's the thing, as we'll caveat, neither of us really drink whiskey. I will say that I think that I am getting those, like, bitters. Like, I do think that the bitters come through, and there's this, like, real dryness, and then, the more that it sits there, the more I am getting those similar tastes, so...
I think there's a little bit of woodiness.
Yeah.
That you can kind of, like, you can get from whiskey.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, and bourbon.
I'm starting to think that I maybe wouldn't give this to someone like my dad who doesn't drink beer, but I maybe would give this to somebody that, I think you're right, there is some element of, like, because we drink stouts, that's like what's in our head.
Yeah. So
I think that I probably would give this to somebody that is both a stout and a whiskey drinker, an old-fashioned fan, so to speak. So, yeah, well, that's that one. Shall we try to make our most ambitious one yet?
Yeah.
I'm scared for this next one. Our final cocktail. Do you want to show the people what it is?
We have got The Dude Abides from Brew York, which is a White Russian Imperial White Stout.
I genuinely thought, because I forgot what the ABV was, I was saying to you before we started recording, I was thinking like it was like 7%, because that's my white stout bias. It's just thinking they aren't typically like that much. And
it's an Imperial White Stout. You missed out the Imperial bit.
Yeah, but I forgot that it was Imperial, because in my head I was just like, oh, it's white stout.
White stout, yeah.
So for this, I mean, do you have anything like actually made for this? Because I'm just gonna make one.
Because I didn't have the ingredients. I went looking to see if I could find a White Russian in a can or something like that. Couldn't find one. I feel like Funkin are missing out on this because I feel like a nitro White Russian in a can would be amazing.
Be hard though. I'm gonna give it a go to make one. This is gonna be. I'm a bit nervous because I'm like, will it curdle? So I've got my. I've saved my fancy glass for this because I want it to be extra fancy.
Got the fancy crystal glass out.
Got lots of ice in it. That I got at a charity shop. Yeah, it says add lots of ice. This is Kahlua's recipe, so it's add equal parts Kahlua, absolute vodka, and cream, which I googled to make sure I got the right cream, and it is single cream.
Single cream. Yeah.
So, yeah, let's give this a go, I guess.
You're just gonna eyeball it, or have you got?
No,
a shot glass?
I've got an actual.
Oh, you've got a measure. Good job.
I do, yeah. Deciding.
How
it
much
needs to
are
be
you
all
gonna...
equal parts.
Yeah, what are you gonna measure out?
I'm gonna do a bake. Part of me feels like I've kind of got to go the full way because it's glass size, but let's give it a go. I'll do 50 of each.
Yeah, that sounds sensible.
Because that feels like if I do too little, it will be sad in the glass. So there's my Kahlua added. I'm really like nervous as I'm getting to the cream. Oh, that's too much vodka. Oops. It's fine. It's not an exact science. Rick would say about baking, and I vehemently disagree with. It's not an exact science.
I mean, baking is definitely an exact science.
I know. I tell him all the time, like, it absolutely is. He's like, nah.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is.
It is literally like the definition of a science, but it's alright. So, you basically do that. I love how it says, layer it off. So the White Russian recipe on Kahlua's direct website. Fill glass with ice, add Kahlua coffee liqueur and absolute vodka. Finish off with a layer of your favourite cream. How many I mean, I know the US has quite a variation of cream, so I'm not
what
really
options
surprised.
are there for cream? I suppose there's different flavoured cream, is there? Maybe?
I think so. You can get like coffee creamers that are different flavours.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the part that I'm the most afraid of.
Okay, Tori's going to add the cream.
I'm so scared.
There you go. Should you float it over a spoon?
It doesn't say to. It just says finish it off with a layer.
Alright.
Hold on, I'm going to watch the video.
Oh, there's a video?
Yeah, there's a video. Let me see how they do it. So loud. Oh my god. No, he literally, I'm very sorry, he just dumps it over.
Dumping it in. He's just dumping it in. Because sometimes they say put it over the back of a spoon and that, like, floats it, doesn't it? I think.
No,
I'm not a cocktail expert.
No, they just dumped it right in.
Alright, well, here we go. Right, she's doing it. I'm going to describe as we go. She's popping it in. I mean, it's in there. Kind of looks like cold brew.
It doesn't look that bad, actually.
Yeah.
Way, that looks good. It's going to curdle.
I'm so worried. It's not going to curdle.
I'm taking a photo of this bad boy. Look at that.
There we go. Now she's doing selfies.
I did. That was an exciting moment. Do I mix it? That's the only thing. Is like it doesn't say mix it. No, I'm not going to mix it because I feel like that's testing fate.
Just drink it.
I'm going to drink it.
She's drinking it. I like a White Russian though.
Oh, so boozy. I just got hit with a vodka.
Well, you did 50 ml of Kahlua, 50 ml of vodka.
You know what? Well done, fucking me. That is. I was so stressed, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm going to give you the fun facts first, actually, before I even give you the backstory. I'm going to give you one fun fact, and it's not even a fun fact. Basically, I was Googling how hard it is to curdle. We were talking about this. I was like, how hard is it to do this without curdling it? And I saw all these recipes that were like, no, it's good. It's so easy. Like, just follow the directions and just don't fuck about. And it's hard to do it. But then it started going, just don't add skimmed milk, this milk, that milk, the other milk. And I was like, oh, but some recipes actually do say you can substitute. Then you get into the non-recipes that are people just asking questions. And across all the social media platforms, everyone's like, fuck, is it possible to make this drink without curdle in it? And I was like, and it was like all these conditions that you had to meet. And I was like, now I'm stressed out. I'm going to curdle it. But I didn't. It's good.
Just chuck it on in there.
It's quite like a heavy drink though.
Oh yeah.
Quite a luxurious heavy drink. I can't wait till I get to make my way through the vodka part, because I'm not a big vodka drinker. I think the cream is helping with the vodka, so that's like, I'm like psyching myself up for it. Yeah, basically why I drink this, the first mention of the White Russian was in the 60s. It was printed in the first written mention of it was in a newspaper, a Californian newspaper, but the variant that is called the Black Russian, which is basically just vodka and Kahlua, that seemed to appear first in 49. There's some origin stories as to how it's created, like there's a few varying ones. My favourite one that I found was that it was created by a Belgian barman, Gustave Tops, at the Hotel Metropole in Brussels in honour of Pearl Mester, who's the US ambassador to Luxembourg. So I like that one because I just felt like the Belgian, there was like a beer tie in there, so that was good. And yeah, it's served in an old-fashioned glass on the rocks, a la this. My video, if I should say. And yeah, like I said, the key ingredients are coffee liqueur, which is either like Kahlua, or if you're in the UK, Tia Maria. I don't know if Tia Maria is like a big thing in the US. I don't remember it being, but maybe I'm wrong. So it's a coffee liqueur, a vodka, and a cream. So it's single cream if you're in the UK. But what I found from all the cocktails that we've looked into so far, this one, the portions and the instructions on how to actually physically make it varied so much more in comparison.
Oh, really?
To any other cocktail, yeah. Because normally it was like, put it in a shaker, shake it and strain it. Yeah. Or blend it. Or like, it's very... Steer it. Like, it's very straight. Like, all these other ones were very straightforward. No real, like, bung it all in there one way or another.
Yeah.
This is like very, like, some of them were like, add one part this and then one part that. Others were like, shake these two ingredients together, then add the cream over it. Another one told me to put all three in and shake it all together, and I was like, I'm not doing that. Absolutely not. Like, the majority of recipes are saying to kind of like float it over the top, or it was either layer it, float it, or just dump it like this one. The Kahlua one was just like, dump it in.
See, I feel like
this had the most variation.
I think so. I've had White Russians when I was on the ships, and I reckon it was all. It was all mixed together. Yeah, I don't remember it being layered or anything like that.
In the Big Lebowski, I'm fairly certain he actually mixes it.
Yeah.
There we go. I've mixed it just because I just couldn't drink just the vodka anymore. It was taking too long to get to the Kahlua. This is actually a mixer. If you're watching it, I've got a mixer that's a drumstick.
I was going to say, that looks like a drumstick.
It is. It's a drumstick mixer. So much better like that. Yeah. So yeah, I just found this had the most variation. So yeah, if you want to try it, this tastes so much better. If you want to try it, literally you just go on Kalua's website, so kahlua.com/en-us/drinks/White Russian. So it's quite... I liked it as well because this was like equal parts of everything, whereas like the other recipes, it would be like, some of them were in ounces and cups, it's like US measurements, but then I was like, well, my brain can't work out how big or little that's going to be, and I really don't want to end up with something that's like too big massive, or too small. Yeah. So yeah. Cool. I'll actually finish this and I won't share that with Rick. So, shall we crack open the Brew York?
Yes, please.
I feel like I need a palate cleanse in between though, I'm not going to lie. Because that is going to be a really
cream.
Aggressive taste.
Yeah.
It's not even the cream, it's just so boozy. That is just, I wouldn't be able to taste the other elements.
It's got a massive head on it.
It's like a honey. It's like honey coloured.
Yeah.
Yeah, massive head on it for sure. I just got some foam up my nose. I always do that. I pour it so high and then I go in for a sniff. And I'm like, what?
It smells like nutmeg.
there's almost so much head. I'm like, I can't get around it.
And nuts. Walnuts.
I do get like that vodka-y, like alcohol smell to it.
Okay.
For me, not in a negative way, but like an actual alcoholic smell, not just, you know how sometimes you can get things that are just like very clearly a beer smell, even when they're not supposed to taste like beer. Like this doesn't have that typical beer smell to it. Alright, I'm gonna just try to make my way through the foam.
Here we go.
I'm not sure how to feel about it, actually, in one sip.
No, I need to go in for some more.
I mean, it doesn't taste 10%.
No. It's definitely creamy.
I'd say like 6%. If that was being generous as well, 6%. Like, it does not taste high.
So I think it definitely delivers what it says on the can. So the can says, nutty coffee, creamy milk sugar and delicate nutmeg create the flavours of the dude's favourite White Russian. Don't like it? Yeah, well, that's just your opinion, man.
That's just like your opinion, man.
I definitely get nutty. It's definitely creamy, and I definitely get nutmeg.
You missed the first part, which is the best. Sorry. Which is whether you call him Dudeness, Duda, or El Duderino, the dude abides. Sorry, I had to. And it also says, "Shut the funk up, Donnie." I really appreciate it.
I don't know if it tastes like a White Russian.
I like that on the back of the can. So you know how on the back of the can they usually have that like spider web?
Yep.
I also like that on the top it says cult status. And it's got 5 sunglasses.
Yep.
It is pretty good. Pretty good. And the can, the label art is so good. It's obviously exactly as you expect. If you know White Russian, like if you think about the first thing that 99% of other people think of when you say White Russian cocktail, it's probably the Big Lebowski. Exactly what you're getting on the label. Very Big Lebowski. So, yeah, I definitely think I get those like spiced flavours to it that are kind of lingering around, but I quite like that.
I like it. I don't know if it screams White Russian to me though.
I would think actually, like if I'm gonna, I don't necessarily think White Russian. What I think is more a variant of a White Russian.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it could be
well,
if you put some like spice on top, like if you sprinkled a bit of like spice on top or something.
Yeah, I think so.
It's good though. Pretty good job.
I like it. It's got a nice body
lethal
to it.
Though. Does not taste 10%. The head is super lasting as well.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, it's probably lacing down my glass.
It's very like stiff peaks. Yeah, some fun facts.
Yes, please.
Cool. Neither the original drinks, the Black Russian or the White Russian, have any Russian origin, as far as anyone knows. It's only named that because of the vodka, which is obviously associated with Russia.
What a stereotype.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Absolutely. So there are a bunch of variations. So like one of them that's quite interesting actually, that didn't have a name to it at all. It wasn't necessarily like a variation in that regard, but you could replace the cream with ice cream. And it says to make it frozen, but I was like, let's be real, the whole thing's not freezing over. You're making a float. You're making an alcohol float. Like, come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that sounded really nice, and I feel like that would taste really nice. But yeah, some of the other variations I thought were like quite interesting. So you had a blind Russian, which is where you swap the Irish cream for the coffee liqueur. Or you make a mudslide, or what's called a muddy water, by adding the Irish cream in addition to all the other ingredients. So you double up on the creamy indulgence. Then you have, so this is one that when you just said a minute ago, like, oh wow, how like stereotype. This is one that I feel like also is just like a really poor stereotype. And it's like, I feel like this brings up a whole wider conversation about like just gross names for cocktails, but it exists. Anna Kournikova, which is named after the tennis player. It's called the Anna Kournikova, or it's called the Skinny White Russian. And it's made with skimmed milk instead of cream. So it's a lower fat option. And I just thought that was a bit like...
That's lame.
Meh. So I could have left that off the list entirely, but I wanted the opportunity to go, yeah, that exists. And I feel like... Because I saw some recipes where it was like, you can use milk instead of cream, and that's fine, and like no comment on it. But then like some were just like, oh yeah, if you do this, then it's called an Anna Kournikova, or it's called a Skinny White Russian. And I was like, that's a bit gross, but... Yeah. So yeah, not my cup of tea to call it that. Felt a bit gross. There you go. Not a fun fact, a gross fact.
Indeed.
You have a Russian cherry orchard, which is basically the same exact thing, but it adds Grand Marnier. You have a white Cuban, which uses rum instead of vodka. But again, I pose that question that we posed every time, which is like, when you start changing up the fundamental spirits in it, it's literally like a white Russian. It uses vodka. Like, that's the stereotype that they've put in place for this drink. And now they're just like, let's reskin it. Let's re-stereotype it. We'll call it a white Cuban, and we will use rum instead. And it's like equally stereotyped.
Yeah.
And I feel completely different cocktail.
Different cocktail.
So, yep. That's my feeling on it. You then have a dirty Russian, which is the same thing, but instead of using cream, you have chocolate milk, which actually sounds quite nice. The name's a bit like off-putting, but sounds really delicious. Chocolate milk. Then you have what's called a Colorado Bulldog, and that adds a splash of cola, which I personally feel wouldn't be that keen on. Not
with the cream. Like, I think the first time I ever had a Black Russian, they made it with cola, and then I was very confused the next time I had one, because I was just like, it had cola in it, why hasn't it got cola in it now? I wouldn't want to mix cola with cream.
No, I wouldn't want to mix cola with the normal ingredients of a Black Russian. Like, I feel like cola has no business in this drink. Cola, like, I feel cola doesn't have a business. Like, cola is a mixer with a spirit. It has no business in a cocktail. I'll make that bold statement again. Like I said what I said.
I think that's fair.
Like, name one statement. Like, can you think of one good cocktail that actually uses like cola in it, and it's not just a mixer of like, I'm having this and Coke?
No.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, that first published recipe that we have from the 60s, I believe it was. Yeah, the 60s. So that was the Oakland Tribune, and that was November of 65. And the official recipe listed it as 1 ounce of Southern, 1 ounce of vodka, and 1 ounce of cream, with the Southern being reference to a then popular brand of coffee liqueur, which I've never heard of. So I don't know if that's just a thing that was popular and doesn't actually exist anymore. But yeah, it was interesting that it's specified Southern, because now it's like Kahlua is the go-to for it. So that was quite interesting. There was a 1930s era drink that was simply just called the Russian, and that was equal parts gin, vodka, and creme de cacao. And there was also a variation that called for an addition of cream. So I would hazard a guess that there was very clearly some inspiration between that and the Black and White Russian.
Yeah.
Because it's effectively just kind of, they've like removed the gin. They've replaced the gin. sort of. They've basically removed the gin, full stop. And then kind of the creme de cacao is a bit different. So yeah. And then my two last fun facts. One, Ben & Jerry's made an ice cream flavour of it. Inspired by it, called From Russia with Buzz. and it was a White Russian inspired ice cream, which is that's pretty cool.
I'd eat that.
Yeah, it sounded really tasty when I read the description. I was like, salivating. And then my last fun fact, which is a Big Lebowski fact. So, the cocktail was declining in favour. It was, it was dying. It's sad times. It had never reached like a massive peak. It was popular, but it was never like stardom level.
Yeah.
And then it started to die off, and then obviously it spiked back up in popularity when The Big Lebowski came out in 1998. So that made it just like absolutely shoot up to stardom because of that cult classic. And then people mainly seem to like associate now White Russians with the dude. And the fun fact here is that he throws back a total of 9 White Russians before the end of the 117-minute long film. Wow. And he also, it made me chuckle in a way that he just referred to it a few times as just the Caucasian, like as a Caucasian. Like he just ordered a Caucasian. And I was like, that is just, I don't know, there's something about just how like we're sitting here going like, oh, calling it a black Russian or a white Russian, like that just feels so like, there's just something about the fact that he just orders a Caucasian that just makes me, or refers to it as a Caucasian, it just makes me chuckle.
Yeah.
It's the stupidest part of me that's like, why? But yeah, he finishes 9 White Russians before the end of that film.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's a good fact.
It's a good fact. Yeah, so that's all the fun facts I've got. So I thought I'd end on the Big Lebowski one because it was topical.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You couldn't get away with not having a Big Lebowski fact. So I actually think, for me, you know how you were talking about the stout in the last one?
Yeah.
And you were like, it's quite hard to like do that. For me, this almost, because it's a bit like, it doesn't reach that same level of mouthfeel.
Yeah.
As the actual cocktail does. But then I think part of that is like also because in my head I'm like, well, it's a white stout. Like,
yeah,
I kind of know what to expect from a majority of white stouts, and this does like fit that bill really well. But I also think it does capture like key flavors. Do you think you'd give this to someone that likes White Russians?
I don't think so, because I think if you're getting a White Russian, you want that creaminess, and I don't think you get that from this beer. It's a good beer. I'm enjoying it. I don't think someone that enjoys a White Russian would be convinced by beer from this beer.
I think I agree, and I think like that's partly because I think the White Russian is such an indulgent drink. Yeah. It is very, very just like the least healthiest, probably one of the least healthiest cocktails you can get. It's very indulgent, very full on, very like boozy, thick, creamy, like all of that smooth and just luxurious. Yeah. And I think like, this beer is really nice and I quite enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely lethal at a stealthy 10%. Yeah.
Stealthy.
But I'm not sure that I could be like, oh, you like White Russians? Try this, because I just don't know if it would land.
No, I think.
But if I knew somebody that was like,
what are you giving me?
But if somebody was like, I really like white stouts.
Yes, I'd be like, this is a good version of a white stout. Try this.
If they're like, I like coffee, I like spices. Yeah. Like I'd be like,
this is the beer for you, my friend.
And if you like fun labels and you like the Big Lebowski, like it's fun to have as like as a theme. Excellent beer. Yeah. Again, White Russian. Not convinced personally.
No.
But yeah.
No.
Well, there we go. That's all of them.
Right, that's the end of our cocktail episodes for the moment. We may find some more. I think we need to find some more espresso martini beers.
Maybe,
so,
yes.
Listeners,
I know Emma wanted it. Emma wanted that. So
if you know of any espresso martini beers out there, let us know. Tori, if someone wants to report back to you on some cocktail beers, where can they do that?
If you want to, I thought you were going to like hardcore call me out for for some of my bold statements.
Look, I let you get off the hook, so don't get yourself back into that mess.
Let me off the hook really easily. If you want to report back on any cocktail themed beers that you've got, or if you want to hear us talk about food and films, because that's other things that clearly we feel like we're qualified to talk about now.
This could have been as well. This could have probably gone onto the dairy podcast as well.
Could have. If you want to see us like hand make cocktails, like if you want to see me take risks again, that obviously clearly pay off. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at adventures_in_hoptimism, or on Gmail at adventuresinhoptimism@gmail.com. I have put some TikToks out lately on Adventures in Optimism. I can't tell you, that's not consistent, but I mean, I put them out when the feeling strikes me,
inspiration moves you to do so.
When patience persists, I put.
And then I ask her questions about how she did it, and she's like, I don't know,
just did it. I just did it, Joe. Just do it. They're like, did you do this? And I was like, sure.
You're like, I don't know.
It
was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, but you can also, if you do write into the podcast, 9 times out of 10, I'll probably be the one that's picking up on Instagram. So that's a Women's Brew on Instagram, or a Women's Brew podcast at Gmail. I tend to be the one that flicks through those. But yeah, Joe also looks at them, so you could get either of us. Lucky dip. So Joe,
you wouldn't have got me this week because I literally had no signal. I had to look it up, and they were doing some works in the area that I work, and there was not even a flicker of signal.
But you would never answer them on work time, so it's fine.
No, of course I wouldn't.
It's good.
On my lunch break, I can answer things on my lunch break.
But yeah, that's it. Your signal tends to be worse, so that is partially just why. And you're always at events, so
I'm always at events. You can just come and talk to me. Come and see me at an event. Tell me what you would like to hear from us. Or if you don't get to see me at an event, you don't get to come to the events that I'm at, you can find me at my beer school, which is Love Beer Learning, and we are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok and Pinterest. I'm generally on Instagram and TikTok, more Instagram generally, so come find me there. Or you can come to my website, which is lovebeerlearning.co.uk, or email me, lovebeerlearning@gmail.com. You can also come there if you want to have a little discussion with me about Tories' hatred of British cake. We'll have that discussion in private.
And also, feel free that this is a safe space if you also want to come to me and admit that you don't like Victoria Sponge. I'm here for it. I support you.
We'll take both sides.
We are impartial. We're impartial to our partial side of the fence.
Yeah, we'll listen to you. This is a safe space. Or don't forget to go to coffee, and you can support the podcast there. Leave us a donation. You get free access you get to pay for access for 30 days to our bonus content. Maybe we'll do some bonus cocktail content over there as well.
I think so. We're going to do our shots of tequila that we promised.
Oh yeah, we've got to do
that
shots
no
of
one
tequila.
wants to see, but I mean, we said we'd do it, and no one cares, but we're going to do it.
We're going to do it anyway.
Also, I'm going to copy this DM to also say, because I know this is coming out soon, Brave Noise, our new Brave Noise of Mirakai. I just got mine too today. I've just got mine in today.
Lovely shiny.
And it's basically
modern mild.
Label, but it's a shiny, and it's it's mild.
Modern mild. Go grab that. I'll put the link in the show notes. Go buy it. We're going to have an episode about it soon. Subscribe on your favourite podcast platform or YouTube to make sure that you get to see that.
Yeah,
smash that like button. Ring that bell.
Next month. I'm done. I can't top that. You win.
On that note,
I'm going to go drink this now.
On that note, cheers.
Cheers.